This is The Art of Startup War, and I am your sensei, Brian McMahon. Now, in Season 1 and 2, I got inside the minds of startup investors. In Season 3, I brought in entrepreneurs to share their startup journey. Here, in Season 4, we combine both so you can hear investors critique the investment value proposition of individual companies. You're going to hear how investors make decisions to invest in startups, what makes a great entrepreneur, and how billion-dollar companies are built. So tune in every Tuesday, 10 a.m. on all the major platforms. You can empower your tribe by sharing the podcast, and remember to subscribe, rate, review, and leave us a comment. Good morning. It's Tuesday morning. It's Brian here from Expert Dojo. It is another beautiful morning because we are going to talk to another incredible entrepreneur about how they are building a company from zero all the way up to that beautiful unicorn. Jason from Qurate, welcome to the call.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Dude, it's awesome. It's awesome except for the fact that this is like our second call ever, and it's our second call ever because we've got this damn coronavirus going on.
Yeah, tell me about it. It's kind of depressing, and I've only been in the apartment for 2 days. Albeit, I think I'd be even more depressed if I was in my apartment back in Israel. But I'm happy to be here, close to the beach in Santa Monica. No complaints.
I know, but we're less than a mile away from each other, and you got to be in your place, and I got to be here. But we are going to nail Qurate for all of our listeners, and they're going to understand why Expert Dojo, we're a little bit like when we say, we love this product so much, we bought it, all of us. So for us, like us investing in you was a no-brainer. I remember when I met with your partner at the very first time, and I understood what you guys did, and I thought, okay, fine. We got our fund, we put our $100,000 checks in, we put them into companies that we believe are going to scale into massive companies in the future, and in my mind, there was no doubt. Can you share with the listeners a little bit about what you do and why I was so convinced at the beginning that you were going to become a billion-dollar company?
Those are two totally separate questions.
Yay,
of course.
That's how I roll.
So what does Qurate do? We work with retailers and CPG brands to help grow their incremental revenue and average order of online orders by using their recipes. Now, what we essentially do is take all of their recipes and we put an interactive technological layer on top that allows the customers to see all of the ingredients they need to create a recipe. And then it allows them to go ahead and in one click of a button, they can purchase all the ingredients they need to create said recipe. We're trying to help the retailers, now with coronavirus, as you had said. Actually, I was reading this morning, Instacart is hiring 300,000 new employees.
I saw.
Yeah, 54,000 in California alone. And the reason is because obviously with Corona right now, orders of online grocery have gone up in the last month 325%. And that's something that's happened because of Corona, but it's going to stay after Corona. I think things are changing. And so what
Well, hang on a sec. Hold on 1 sec. So
just
so everybody's clear, from a consumer's perspective, you're online, you're looking for, hey man, I'm looking for like an awesome recipe to make my next beef stroganoff. And then the recipe comes up in the form of video, which is we all like to see. And then some awesome chef or some influencer is like making the stroganoff and it looks beautiful. You can almost smell it. It's so nice. But what you've done is you have built in a formula onto the websites or in between the websites of the actual retailers and the folks making these videos that I click on the video and it's like, hey dude, you want to make this at home? I'm like, yeah. And it's like, okay, just click here. And immediately it takes me to the retailer's site where all of the ingredients that I need to be able to actually make that in my house is like there already in my basket. Easy, right?
Done. You did a significantly better job than I did at selling that, and maybe I should do a take two, give a bit of a better explanation as to really what we're doing. But you did a great job
Thank
there.
you. I was your take two, and you know what, so you explained it really well from a product perspective. Like, what does the product do, and what are the applications of it? My role was really just to look at it from a benefit perspective, and for consumers everywhere who are out there and saying, "What the hell am I going to have for dinner?" Now it's easy, it's simple. Rather than going to the supermarkets and slugging it out with 5,000 other people to try and find the last packet of rice on the shelves, all you got to do is like pick up a video, look at a video, hit a video, buy the ingredients, and it's all done in 3 or 4 clicks. So, and also, so I'll say another thing about this virus. It is obviously destructive in the way that it's killing people. But on a work side of it and on a human side of it, I'm finding that families are getting together. I'm finding that the challenge in what you had before was not the fact that it wasn't an amazing product, which was really important for retailers. It was the fact that we have become so disconnected with each other that people are not spending quality family time. And that has changed in the last couple of weeks, right?
And yeah, and you know what? That's partially the retailer and the media's fault in the way that they're creating content for us to consume, I think. And that's another one of the issues that we're actually trying to solve. So you've got tons of people, whether it's a chef, whether it's a blogger, whether it's someone at home, a mom who thinks or decides that she's a great cook, putting out all these amazing recipes online. And what ends up happening is I might go, and actually there's an uptick every day at around 4 o'clock of searches on YouTube and on Google in general for recipes. So I'm going to hop online, find this recipe. And what's happening right now is I find the recipe that I love, and that's when my entire experience ends. I've got to make a decision. Do I really want to write down these ingredients or print this out and then spend time on my way home from work, as you had said, jostling with all the other people on their way home from work, trying to get these ingredients? And so what ends up happening is people just don't end up cooking new things. They cook what they know, and whether or not their kids like it, they've got no other choice. What we're actually doing is creating that end-to-end experience for the customer, which in turn is creating value for our customer, which is the retailer and the CPG brand.
Yeah, so you're changing the whole dynamic and creating better environments within families, better meals, easier transactions, and simpler
Well,
for everything. And you know what's really cool about what you do is that nobody even knows that you do it. You're like that secret wingman that hangs behind his best friend, arranging like the best date in the entire world, and then just turns up to make sure that the date goes okay, and then but hides in the corner and then leaves. Right?
and that's
That's what you do. Nobody even knows you exist. Not only do you not charge consumers anything for this, they don't even know it's happening. They believe it's all happening within the retailers because the retailers are your clients.
That's exactly it. We want to create a frictionless end-to-end experience. So as I was saying a second ago, right now that experience is very fragmented, and what we're allowing the customers to do is giving them the confidence to get back in the kitchen because we're giving them the end-to-end experience. So I see a recipe, I click a button, see all the ingredients that I need to make the recipe, click another button, add them all to my digital shopping cart, my e-commerce shopping cart, click one more button and have them delivered to my house. And now I've got a video with our interactive layer on top that will take them step by step through all of the recipe so that they can actually cook that recipe in confidence with their family at home.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Talk to us a little bit about this. So I think everybody gets the product. It is awesome. We love it. Investors love it because it's massively scalable. I mean, every retailer should use this for every single interaction with customers. It increases their sales. It provides a better consumer experience. And it means that customers will keep coming back for more and new things, which is exactly what retailers are looking for. Talk
Yeah.
to us a little bit about the journey, because sometimes we look at companies, especially after we've invested in them, and say, okay, fine, you guys are doing great now. You've got retailers already online. You're already growing. You're doing great. And actually, in this economy, you're doing even better. But what was it like at the start? How did you come up with this idea, and how did you manage to get it off the ground?
So this was actually, the idea came from my co-founder CEO Avishai, who spent the last 10 years in marketing for Coca-Cola in Israel. So he was actually in charge of one of their not only drinks, but then he also moved over to their dairy section as well. And the way that they run the marketing and sales in Coca-Cola in Israel is it's actually all under the sales umbrella. So even though he was in charge of marketing, he did have a VP of sales to answer to. And oftentimes when he would want, as a CPG brand, to run a joint campaign with a retailer, it would be through recipes. So either Coca-Cola or the retailer would create a recipe and then it'd be branded with the Coca-Cola products, something that we're offering digitally as well in our product. The big question that he would get from his boss was, okay, so you're going to spend X amount of money on this campaign. What is going to be the ROI on that recipe or book of recipes that you're creating with the retailer? And there was never any way for him to really give an actual response because there is no way to track if people are seeing recipes and then actually going to purchase those recipes. And that's where he really started to think of the idea of, okay, how can I track a recipe from view to click to actual purchase of products by a particular customer so that I can say, okay, I spent X amount of money on this campaign and it was well worth it because this is the return on investment that we saw.
This is brilliant. So it's not even just recipes. You started with recipes, but this actually applies to anything where people are kind of in the DIY space, right?
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, what we're doing on the back end on a high level is connecting recipe ingredients with the most accurate SKU at the retailer. And
Gotcha.
that's the most accurate SKU for said recipe, but also for a particular customer. So one of the things we didn't speak about earlier is the fact that we sit as a white label software on the retailer's e-commerce website. So
Okay.
we don't go to right now. I mean, and it is an option, but our core offering is not to go to third-party recipe websites. It's actually to go to the retailer and say, we're going to sit as a white label software on your e-commerce website. We're going to collect an anonymous data on all of your customers. And so that way, when there is a recipe for fettuccine Alfredo for Brian, we're going to, even though the recipe calls for half and half, I know that Brian, you are extremely health conscious and you would rather make your Alfredo sauce with a 1%. And we also know that you love Dairyland milk because that's what you purchase every single time. So when we show you a recipe during your shopping journey for fettuccine Alfredo, it's not going to have the half and half in it because we know that the chances of you purchasing that are significantly lower than if we show a Dairyland 1% milk. And so we're going to actually be able to personalize recipes because we sit as a white label software on the retailer's website.
Beautiful. Okay, makes total sense. Now, you have explained very clinically how you started your business. Let's move to be a bit more emotional. So, how hard was it? Because everybody gets it. Like, we get the product, we see how it works, we see how it's going to grow. I don't. It's my favorite area, which is innovation without disruption, because there's no disruption. Generally means, I mean, frictionless innovation. Because disruption generally means you have to fight people. You have to fight nobody for this. Everybody wants it. The consumer wants it. The supermarkets wants it. The grocer wants it. Everybody wants it, right? So, but let's talk a little bit more about how difficult was the journey. I see how the genesis of the idea and how it's now been turned into something awesome. But how difficult was it actually building the code, starting from nothing? Did you have money? Did you get money from your family and your friends, or did you just go poor for a long time?
We've been bootstrapping until we decided to come in and join you guys and take the investment from you. We've been bootstrapping. Living in Israel is, I think, Israel is a really good test ground for any type of product, and you can see that with a lot of international companies. They'll actually come to Israel to test a product for a proof of concept, and then they'll roll it out worldwide. It's a small country with a relatively high GDP and a relatively high level of learning, and so starting here is great. having connections here is great. So we're able to get into a couple of international CPG brands pretty quickly, as well as some of the local retailers. And believe it or not, grocery delivery is significantly advanced in Israel compared to what they're doing here in the United States. So it was a really good test ground for us. Um, moving into the US is been a good journey, not an easy one. Coming from my background is more in hospitality, so I've got the culinary degree that you know about, and I've been in hotels. Moving into grocery, I think, is a bit of an antiquated industry, and so for us, getting into the boys club, as I mentioned to you in the past, was and is always a challenge. But I think once you're in there, and we're we've got our foot in the door there. So once you're in there, then I think it becomes easier. Um, but as you said, and it really is true, everyone sees the value in what we are doing. We're creating a better experience for the end user, which is the shopping customer, and we're helping retailers grow incremental revenue and average order value, which for them in a small margins industry is always really important.
Yeah, nice. What was your toughest moment? Give me something hard. Even the word bootstrapped, it sounds like an awesome, cool startup word. But what it really means is, man, it was shit. I mean, it was hard. And we had no money and we had to call on people at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And there was no reason why they should work with us. And they only worked with us until they did. But like take us to a moment that was particularly tough as you were growing this company that you had to really fight through, and maybe there was slight nanoseconds in there that you weren't sure if you were going to make it.
How real are we getting on this podcast?
Super real. I realize
Super.
actually there may be more than one moment.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, actually, hold on. How long have
So
we got?
let's go with the moment that you actually, even before we got started with you, helped coach us through, which was our decision to go to another accelerator program in New York, where we were sold a huge dream and given none of that. And figuring out not just it kind of set us back by 6 months at least, because they had given us all these assurances and not followed through. And it's not necessarily their fault. I'm not even going to say the name of the accelerator, but it was we were the first cohort in New York, and we were promised investment and we were promised introduction to customers, and none of that happened. And I had to be really scrappy during that time and reach out to personal contacts to see what I can get out of them, because nothing really moved forward there. And you mentioned we're bootstrapping. Living in New York while also maintaining an apartment in Israel is not cheap, and that was a big decision that we took to move forward with that accelerator, and it was a big learning experience. Again, it set us back 6 months. It also taught us a lot. It taught us how to be self dependent, not really to rely on people, and definitely when we decided to move forward with you and had to kind of revisit our relationship with them and how to not burn bridges, as you never want to do in any industry or in life, but to create a scenario where we can tie things off with a pretty bow there and still be able to move forward, and not allow that experience to cripple us at all.
So you bring up a really, really good point, and we're going to talk about the general point rather than the specific. If you got a job, you're okay. Like you have negotiations with people. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. You do deals with people. Sometimes people are true to those deals. Sometimes people are not true to those deals. It's okay because guess what? You get a salary at the end of every single month. Also, guess what? It's not going to affect your company in a massive way, no matter what you do. Very few single decisions for someone who, other than the CEO of a large company, that you make on a daily basis working for someone will actually cripple or make a big difference on that company. But When you go through startup, there are phases you go through, right? The beginning phase is when absolutely nobody cares about you. Nobody. They don't even notice you. Like, it's as though you're a homeless person living on the street. People will walk over you and you're thinking, don't they even notice that I'm here? And this goes for every startup, everyone that's coming right from the beginning. And then there's a moment, and there's suddenly a moment when the vultures start to circle and they realize that actually it's an incredible idea. They start to see the customers are signing up. They start to see that there's traction there. They see that the founders are determined, like nothing will stop them getting to the end line. And suddenly you go from nobody caring or noticing what you're doing to suddenly some people who seem important, caring and noticing what you're doing. And not only that, wanting to be involved. And they either want to be involved because they're consultants and they're going to charge you money, or they want to be involved because they're partners and maybe you can both make money together, or maybe they're accelerators and investors and they want to invest in you, or they are folks that will promise to connect you with all of the above, right? And it's a very difficult time because it's your first time dealing with these people. And if these people are going to do what they say they're going to do, they catapult your company to an incredible place. If they don't do what they say they're going to do, they can kill your company. And I was really impressed with how you dealt with that whole situation because a lot of the things that came through were not good. And they would have killed a lot of companies. And you turned it around to an incredible positive. You learned a phenomenal amount from it. You made your company stronger. You came down here to California like a bull in a china shop and you just went for it. Everything that you could have around you, from new partners, affiliates, everything. But you not only approach those people with a gusto, but you approach those people with a gusto with the learnings that you took from what happened to you up in New York and probably what happened to you way before that. So warnings to all startups out there. Be careful, my friends, because people will come to you and they will seem like they're the greatest folks in the world and they are not. So always have a plan B in your back pocket, like the folks in Qurate did. And then just also don't be afraid to embrace this reality that's going to come towards you. It's part of this journey that you go through in startups. So yeah,
You
but
know, I
you're
just
stronger for it, right?
totally on a humanitarian side, what you know, specifically because we're here in California, in LA, and I know in San Francisco it's not much better, but with the homeless situation here, it's, you know, all New York as well has an interesting homeless situation. Um, the way you kind of described us at the beginning of our journey right now, I can't help but to think that that is probably somewhat of the mindset of all of, you know, the people that are making up Venice and Santa Monica here, that no one's looking at them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure you can edit
Man,
this
it's the
out, right?
worst.
It's
Sometimes
just
it's,
something like, I've been trying, you know, I know that we're poor as startup people, and I know that the point of this podcast was not for me to, you know, praise the homeless necessarily, but I just couldn't help but think about how, like, at least we're going to get out of it, right? We're in that point because we're starting out right now, where no one's paying attention to us, and we're scrappy and we're fighting, so that people start to pay attention to us. I don't know, just
so
something
look, let's do a little call out in the show then. Like, this is the time when the coronavirus is starting to peak down here in Southern California. And a time that we should be aware of everybody around us and we should be slightly more human than maybe we were before. So I remember I left the house this morning and I picked up $1 from the floor and I said to my kid, look, he said, oh, why'd you taking that? I said, well, because I'm going to pass somebody in the street and I'm going to give him $1 because why not? We don't need it. We got it sitting on the floor. And I walked up here to the office this morning and I passed somebody in the street and I gave him $1. So everybody who's listening to the podcast, listen, dude, if you've got like $1 in your drawer or $5 or $10 or $2 or whatever the hell, who cares? Stick it in your back pocket, go out this afternoon, notice somebody in the street and say, here you go, buddy. Have a better day. Okay, cool. Now we got past that. So next
or
point.
even Brian,
Mhm.
the sale for that was actually let them go online, use Curate's software to order all the ingredients for a recipe to their house, cook it with their family, and then go outside and bring it to their homeless neighbor.
Yeah, that's beautiful, actually.
That was the sale.
Yeah,
Forget
forget
about
what
the
I
five,
said.
$10.
Forget what I said. Do that. Do that. I like that. That's much better. So, okay, we've gone through how you started. We've gone through the challenges that you faced. Hit me with like the best thing that's happened, and nothing about Expert Dojo. I don't care. We've a great relationship, you and me, and I know everything's going well in the accelerator. But the best thing that's happened outside Expert Dojo, because we're in the middle of our program here.
Since joining the, we're talking about from the company standpoint,
From
or
the beginning.
from a personal standpoint, because I would say getting the opportunity to join Qurate, which is really a phenomenal company with awesome. I've got awesome co-founders, but being able to join them on the co-founder level and really be able to build a company from the grassroots. My experience through life is my last job. I was at the same place, but I wasn't given the opportunities that I was here in Qurate. So for me to be able to jump from the last tech company that I was at as employee number 5, where I was given, tons of the ability to grow, but not the same amount of responsibility following, to then jump over to a company like Qurate, where we've been lucky enough to get in with you guys and to have an awesome team, for me is great. Being able to grow to grocery shop, which is, I know I'm not a huge conference person, but grocery shop, if you're in the industry that I'm in, is like one of the best conferences that are purely focused on tech in retail and
That
CPG.
was good too. I want to actually, but hold on. I don't want to go past what you just said, because it's massively important. Most folks, I actually can't think of anybody else who has answered the question with the correct answer that you just came up with there. Because everybody else would say, well, it was when I had my first client, it was when we got our first investor, it was when we had our first thing. It's like, no, this is your baby. The most beautiful moment of your entire journey was the day your baby was born. Whatever happens between, whether it's anniversary, graduation, any of those things, like, it's okay. But your baby being born is it. And the moment you forget that, the moment you've wavered from the journey, that's when you've moved to a place where you're just looking for milestones that happen to be just another drug just to keep you going for that day. As long as you are secure in the moment, the greatest moment on my journey, the greatest moment on my journey with Expert Dojo was the day I started Expert Dojo. That's it. That's when the baby was born. Your greatest moment was being able to get into Qurate and realize I am now a controlling part of an organization which is going to change people's lives on the planet forever. Okay, and that segues us into the last piece, which
Glad I answered. I totally thought, I'm sorry for cutting off. I totally thought that was too sappy, and that's why I gave you another answer right afterwards about grocery shop.
No, it wasn't. It was the right answer. It was the right answer. It was the right
Good.
answer. This is a passion project we do. Like the great, beautiful thing about what we are is we are a part of the future. We are going to be the history that hasn't been written yet in 50 or 100 years' time. And to do that, the moment that you've begun it is the only moment that matters. So, no, well done. Good answer. Okay, final piece. So tell me where, and this is for listening to this podcast, you have got investors, you have got grocery stores, you have got consumers, you have got folks who are just sitting on their couch thinking, oh man, I wish this coronavirus thing would finish. You got them all here, so you're speaking to everyone. In the next 3 to 4 minutes, tell me what is going to happen with Qurate from today over the next 3 to 5 years. Paint me a picture.
Paint you a picture of 3 to 5 years. That's like being a master chess player, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like knowing 20 steps ahead.
Take me all the way, baby.
20 plays ahead. We are going to be the largest retail tech grocery-oriented startup in America.
But you can talk it through. But
I'm not sure, what you know.
Even speak it through with some milestones. So, for example, you can talk about how you're going to grow from where you are today. So, if you say, hey, we're in with a couple of grocers today,
okay,
we're going to
that
be in
type
with
of
10 grocers in a year, we're going to be in 50 grocers in 2 years, in 500 grocers then. We're going to be serving this amount of people in the community tomorrow, the next year, the year after. Like, and I'll give you a Let me just give you a flag in the ground that you can go around. So right now, I am sure the Blue Apron, after all their troubles of being a delivery recipe service, but trying to do something awesome, are now looking at exactly that. They're saying, how many consumers are we going to serve over the next
Well,
year, 2 years, 5 years,
yeah.
10 years?
So
So tell us.
we're first. I have to say we're the anti Blue Cart. A Blue Apron, sorry. Blue Cart's a inventory management system. We are the anti Blue Apron in the sense that they, by the way, yes, they are doing well. And I know I posted on LinkedIn, that their stock grew 120%. It was after they had to do a reverse split. So they're like only, a dollar or two above what their original share price was now,
But I'm going to
even
make
though
listen. I'm going
it
to make
grew.
a prediction to you. Only that they're in the recipe space, right? So I'm going to make a prediction to you. I actually think Blue Apron are going to come out of this, and I know it's a different product, but similar area of encouraging families to have home cooked meals, right? I
Yeah,
actually think they're going to come out of this as a really strong company. I believe that the family values that are going to be created from this crisis that we're in right now are going to create a multi-billion-dollar company again, and I believe they're going to be right up there. So, Jason, we're at this part of the show now where we look to the future. This is when you tell all of our listeners, the investors, the consumers, the retailers, everybody, what's going to happen with Qurate over the next 1 to 5 years. And whether you approach that from a perspective of fundraising, or revenue you're going to get through, or amount of retailers you're going to bring on board, or what's going to happen to the company, I want to have a big picture of what you're going to look like and how big you're going to be. Hit me.
all right. Right now we're finishing up our seed round of $1 million. That should take us for the next 9 to 11 months, where we're going to onboard another 6 retailers and another 3 or 4 CPG brands. Once we've really gotten that taken care of, we're going to move on to include chefs and bloggers, and then create an actual marketplace for people to go and see how recipes are performing. Not only are we going to work or continue to develop the recipe and the cooking video industry, but our application is perfectly suited for other industries like DIY and arts and crafts, as well as in the makeup industry. So once we really conquer retail, CPG, grocery, we'll be able to move on to DIY and to other
Into other
industries
segments
as
as
well.
well. And then, so when you say conquer, how many retail stores do you believe that you're going to have on your platform in the next 3 years?
The I would love to have 20 to 30. The awesome thing about how our revenue model is set up is that it's actually a revenue share of all recipes added to cart. So we can, each of our contracts will be a pretty large contract.
Okay, wonderful. So you get a little piece of everything that comes through from the retailers. So it's the gift that keeps on giving while everybody wins. I love it. Okay, great. So 20 or so retailers, which will give you pretty much dominance within the entire grocery and supermarket chain, as so many of these own so many different stores and so many different places and have access to so many consumers. And then you then break out into other industries where you provide exactly the same model for folks that are looking to be able to do DIY in those spaces as well. Brilliant. And then you're raising $1 million right now, which I believe is going very well. You've got at least one investor that's very interested in moving forward, and you've got other ones that you're in conversations with. And then I imagine we'll get to your Series A in the beginning to midway through 2021.
Probably midway through 2021, once we've got a good 15 grocers on there, retailers on there.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, everybody, you heard it here. Qurate, massive recommendation from Expert Dojo. We invested in them. We tell our friends to invest in them. We believe this company is going to turn into something really special. If you're a user, you will probably never see them, but they are always there, making sure that you and your family have the best meals on the friggin' planet. So make sure you get out there, cook some meals, enjoy your family, enjoy your time, and do it all thanks to our friends over at Qurate. Jason, mate, thank you for joining us. Thanks for being a part of our cohort. Thanks for taking our money. Thanks for having an awesome business. It's great getting to know you. How can people contact you?
You can get me on my LinkedIn, Jason Ast, or email Jason at Qurate, that's QURATE.tech, TECH. Or you can hit us up on our website, qurate.tech, QURATE.tech.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. If you love the podcast, please empower your circle by sharing these stories. The Art of Startup War is brought to you by Expert Dojo. And remember, we invest in startups, $50,000 checks. Make sure you apply on our site if you are one of those great entrepreneurs looking to bring your company to the next level. As far as the Art of Startup War is concerned, we are back every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. So remember, check out the new episodes. If you want to find out what the investors think, check out season 1 or 2. But make sure you join us every single week.